Picture this. You get in your car on a freezing cold morning. You go to hit the brakes, and nothing. The pedal is just a solid rock. It is a genuinely terrifying moment, and it often ends with a mechanic quoting you thousands of dollars for a repair. But what if the real fix wasn't thousands of dollars? What if it was less than 40? Well, let's dig in.
And look, this isn't just some made-up story. These are real reports from actual drivers, especially Honda owners, waking up to find their brake pedal feels like a brick. One person said they backed right into a snowbank. Another sailed through a stop sign. It's this weird problem that almost only happens in very cold weather, which makes it super dangerous, but also really frustrating for mechanics to figure out, because the car is usually warmed up by the time it gets to the shop.
So here's the absolute key. The specific symptom is a rock-hard brake pedal right after you start your car in the cold. You might have to stomp on it, pump it a few times, or just wait for the engine to warm up before it feels normal again. And that lack of braking power, even just for a few seconds, can be incredibly hazardous.
Okay, so let's look at what happened to one owner of a 2010 Honda Accord who took their car to a really reputable mechanic with this exact cold weather brake problem. You know, they did the right thing. They took a serious safety issue to a pro.
And this is the quote they got back: $2,000. The shop said they needed to replace the entire master cylinder assembly, the master power set, and a bunch of other parts. I mean, for a car that's over 10 years old, a bill like that can be a death sentence. It's the kind of quote that makes you seriously wonder if the car is even worth fixing.
But here's the thing. Whenever a problem is so specifically tied to cold weather and just vanishes once the car warms up, it almost always points to a smaller component that's sensitive to temperature, something that's maybe sticking or just not sealing right. So what if that massive quote was aiming at completely the wrong target?
To find that much smaller problem, we've got to peek inside the brake system. You know that easy light feel your brake pedal has? That's not just your leg power. It's actually getting a huge assist from your engine using something called a vacuum. And this little guy right here, the brake booster check valve, is basically the gatekeeper for your power brakes. It lets the engine suck all the air out of the brake booster, creating a vacuum that multiplies the force from your foot. But most importantly, this valve is supposed to act like a one-way door, trapping that vacuum inside the booster even after you turn the car off.
So here's what's going on. When it gets really cold, the seal in that old valve fails. The vacuum just leaks out overnight, and in the morning, you're left with zero power assist. Your brake pedal feels like a rock, and it takes a ton of effort to stop the car. That right there perfectly matches the dangerous symptoms everyone was reporting.
So where is this thing hiding? Well, it's usually right here in the engine bay. The brake booster is that big, round, black drum thing on the driver's side up against the firewall behind the engine. And the check valve is right in the vacuum hose that connects that booster to the engine.
Now, on a lot of Honda models, there's a bit of a catch. The check valve isn't a separate little piece you can just pop out and replace. It's actually built right into the vacuum hose itself. This means you have to replace the whole hose assembly, which Honda calls the master power tube assembly.
But here's the best part. You don't have to take my word for it. You can actually test for this exact problem yourself right at home with no special tools. This one simple diagnostic test can tell you for sure if your check valve is the culprit.
Okay, this is what's called the whoosh test, and it's so simple. First, with the engine off, just pump the brakes a bunch of times till the pedal gets hard. That clears out any old vacuum. Step 2, hold the pedal down and start the engine. You should feel the pedal sink a little bit as the new vacuum builds up. Now, for the most important part, turn the engine off, wait about a minute, and then carefully pull the hose off the booster, and just listen. If you hear a whoosh sound, that means the valve held the vacuum and it's good. But if you hear silence, that means the vacuum leaked out, and you, my friend, have just found your problem.
So if your test was silent and you've got a bad valve, what's the solution? Well, I can tell you what it's not. It's not a $2,000 repair bill. It's time to replace that one specific part.
For that 2010 Honda Accord we were talking about, the specific part you need is Honda part number 46402-TA0-A51. This is the whole hose assembly, and it comes with a new, revised check valve that's designed to fix this exact cold weather failure. And what is the price for this official redesigned part from an online Honda dealer? $38.29. Just let that sink in for a second. Not $2,000, less than 40 bucks.
This brings us to the final, and I think most dramatic comparison. Let's just put the two options side by side.
So on one hand, you've got the initial diagnosis, a really complex, intimidating, and totally wallet-destroying $2,000 repair.
And on the other hand, you have the reality. A single part that costs less than a tank of gas and, for most people with just a few basic tools, takes less than half an hour to swap out.
Just understanding this one specific symptom, a hard pedal only in the cold, and knowing about this one little part is the whole key. It's literally the difference between keeping your car on the road and maybe sending it to the scrapyard. This knowledge gives you the power to have a way smarter conversation with your mechanic, or even just to fix it yourself.
And that really leaves us with one final question. A misdiagnosis like this isn't just about the money, it's about the stress and the safety. When the real solution can be this simple and this cheap, it really makes you wonder, what other expensive problems out there might have surprisingly simple answers if we only just knew where to look?